Peace officers in Arizona have important due process rights. They are contained in the Peace Officers Bill of Rights, ARS Section 381101. But like many rights, they are potentially waivable. So it's important that you know your rights under state law. Also, make sure that your labor organization doesn't waive your rights on your behalf. With that in mind, here's part 1 of my video in the Arizona Peace Officers Bill of Rights, focusing on the notice of investigation. Pay particular attention to what NOIs require, as it's fairly common for investigators to write inaccurate or incomplete NOIs. If that happens, call a lawyer. Next week, I'll follow up with part 2, explaining more about your opportunity for representation and your right to consult with a lawyer if you're under investigation. The Peace Officers Bill of Rights is a series of statutory protections that govern disciplinary actions against non-probationary officers for issues that could result in termination, demotion, or a suspension of 8 hours or longer. Today, I'll cover 2 of the most important parts of the Peace Officers Bill of Rights, the notice of investigation and the rights to appeal, and I'll also talk about some limits to the law. As always, please remember that this is a basic summary. If you have questions or if you're under investigation, ask for help. The first topic is your right to a notice of investigation. The law requires that if you are under investigation for a serious allegation, you're entitled to a written notice of investigation. One of the most commonly forgotten parts of the notice of investigation is that the investigator must provide the facts that are the basis of the investigation, the specific nature of the investigation, the officer's status in the investigation, and all known allegations of misconduct that are the reason for the interview. Another critical part of the Peace Officers Bill of Rights is your right to appeal significant discipline. If you've met probation and if your agency decides to terminate you, demote you, or give you an unpaid suspension of 8 hours or more, you are automatically allowed to appeal your discipline. Depending on where you work, the appeal will either be heard by a specific hearing officer or by a civil service board, merit commission, or other board. Peace officers appealing discipline are also allowed to strike or switch a hearing officer at their request. Unfortunately, not every police officer and not every discipline issue is covered by the Peace Officers Bill of Rights. The first limitation is the concept of significant discipline. Only investigations that could reasonably result in termination, demotion, or a suspension of 8 hours or more are covered by the Peace Officers Bill of Rights. So if the discipline involved is minor, then these protections will not apply. The second limitation is whether or not the person under investigation has met his or her probationary period. If you're not yet done with your probation, you are not entitled to the protections of the Peace Officers Bill of Rights. Finally, if you're employed as an at-will employee by an agency of the state, like the Arizona Department of Public Safety, then the Peace Officers Bill of Rights protections do not apply to you. But if you're employed by a county or local police department and are non-probationary, you are protected. So here's the recap. We covered the notice of investigation. You are entitled to a written disclosure of the facts known to the investigator that serve as the basis of the complaint prior to your interview. We also covered your right to appeal discipline of 8 hours or more, including the availability of a change in hearing officer, unless the case is heard by a panel. Next, we talked about the limits to the Peace Officers Bill of Rights. It doesn't cover minor investigations, it doesn't cover officers who haven't yet made probation, and it doesn't cover at-will employees who work at agencies of the state. Finally, please ask for help if you're under investigation. This video only covers part of the protections for the Peace Officers Bill of Rights. In fact, I may make another video talking about other protections, including your right to consult an attorney if you're involved in a serious investigation. So remember, before you submit to a serious investigation, reach out and ask for help. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button below and subscribe for more law enforcement lessons. I'm Steve Cerbalic. Thanks for watching and stay safe out there.